Wisconsin transfer pitcher Paytn Monticelli commits to the Oklahoma Sooners, and the three-time national champions, 3 times in a row, defending national champion Oklahoma softball, 7-time national champions. Oklahoma softball got better today, and it's really that simple, folks, on today's episode of Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into Locked On Sooners. I'm your host, Josh Elmer of 94.7 The Ref, and of course, right here, Locked On Sooners, your team every single day. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. That's FanDuel.com/Locked On. And always happy to have the everydayers around here on Locked On Sooners, where we have been waiting day after day after day for positive news for Oklahoma Sooners softball. Enough of this Jordy Ball. Hey, it's a good story and we're rooting for the best, but enough of this Jordy Ball chooses to go home to Nebraska. Enough of Jocelyn Erickson chooses to leave Oklahoma. Enough of Sophia Nugent chooses to leave Oklahoma. We want good news. The 3-time defending national champion Sooner softball squad, it's due for good news, and you've got it finally. Finally, the long wait is over today. Paytn Monticelli, Wisconsin transfer pitcher, comes to Oklahoma, announces the commitment. Well, what do you need to know about Paytn Monticelli? Here's a little Cliff Notes version for you. Paytn Monticelli, 6'2" pitcher, a righty from the Wisconsin Badgers. Obviously, very, very ballyhooed coming out of high school, set a single-season strikeout record her freshman year with 220 strikeouts in 125 innings pitched in high school, was a 2-time Gatorade Wisconsin Softball Player of the Year in 2021 and 2022. And, by the way, at Wisconsin, very, very good in year one. Was not the ace of her staff at Wisconsin, but was the second arm in the rotation for the Badgers. Appeared in 21 games, started 13 of those, and a very respectable 7-4 record, 2.71 ERA in 80 innings of work her freshman year, 82 strikeouts against 21 walks, and 16 hit by pitches. So look at those numbers and say, okay, 82 strikeouts, 80 innings pitched. Not surprising for Paytn Monticelli, just looking at the 2-time Wisconsin Gatorade Player of the Year portfolio, the strikeouts record as a freshman in high school. Paytn Monticelli can strike some folks out. And that was the case in year one at Wisconsin in the Big Ten, where you're averaging more than a strikeout per inning pitched. But obviously, you look at some of the other numbers, the 21 walks, the 16 hit batters, and you say, okay, you combine those two together, and not bad. You've got basically 2 strikeouts to a walk ratio. I know that I'm mixing in hit by pitch with walks there, but that's going to be something for Patty Gasso, for Jen Rocha, that they look at and say, okay, how can we cut down some of the, at times, maybe erratic control and get those 21 walks down, get those 16 hit by pitches down, and keep those strikeouts where they're at, and maybe, who knows, tick those things up just a little bit. But obviously, Paytn Monticelli, it's not Elena Vodder out of the transfer portal. That had been speculated quite a bit for Oklahoma, All-American that is leaving Stanford. And who knows, maybe there's more news on the way, whether it's with Kern or others out of the transfer portal, but at least the first domino that falls is not Elena Vodder, who some thought maybe would be a name that would get attached to Oklahoma. Instead, it's another name that folks speculated about in Paytn Monticelli. The numbers, they are what they are, right? 2.71 ERA, the 82 strikeouts we've talked about. Really, really good stuff, potentially dominant stuff for Paytn Monticelli in her future in the Crimson and Cream. Again, the starts under her belt, 13 of those, 21 appearances. The control is something that Oklahoma and Jen Rocha, of course, will work to clean up and work to enhance for Paytn Monticelli. But what you hear is that this stuff for Monticelli with a Gasso, with a Ginrocha, it could turn into dominant stuff. You kind of heard those rumblings out of the portal. I know, again, there was a lot of smoke attached to the Elena Vodder name, but Monticelli was a name that you heard too, and there's some definite, legitimate, very, very good upside here for Monticelli out of the Big Ten. And another thing that Oklahoma fans will like, great person, Paytn Monticelli, when arriving in Wisconsin, wanted to be a part of the Badgers Forward 360 program, which assists special needs individuals. And then before that, the Heart Safe Wisconsin program that teaches kids about CPR and raises money for AEDs in schools. So not unusual in that respect. That fits the culture, right, of Oklahoma softball. So Paytn Monticelli, in addition to being this young, rising talent within the circle, also just on the surface there appears like someone that really, really cares about the community, really, really cares to get back, and that will jive with who and what the Oklahoma Sooner softball program has been. So, okay, great person, terrific talent inside the circle. What does all of this mean for Oklahoma's staff? Does it mean that you can safely say Oklahoma is the 2024 favorite again? Well, as we think about Paytn Monticelli's stuff in the circle and think about who Oklahoma has been, now all of a sudden Monticelli, in addition to a lineup that, oh, by the way, will still feature TRA Jennings, will still feature Jada Coleman, will still feature Kinsey Hansen and Alyssa Brito and Riley Boone, on and on and on, Sydney Sanders, you name it. The lineup will remain incredibly, incredibly potent. It's also an Oklahoma defense that, you almost, I don't want to say you take it for granted, but Oklahoma's been so good in both the circle and defensively that, well, that's just who Oklahoma is, right? But Oklahoma last season, again, tops defensively in fielding percentage. You look at Wisconsin, Oklahoma, 19 errors a season ago. Okay, 19. Wisconsin had 61. They were 216th nationally, Wisconsin was, in fielding percentage. So in addition to those bats that all of a sudden Paytn Monticelli will have on the opposite side of the equation with her, she's also got that defense behind her at Oklahoma that she simply did not have at Wisconsin. So I just look at all of this for OU. Incredible talent. What you hear is very, very positive about the upside for Monticelli. The numbers themselves look really, really good coming in. And the defense tells you that, yeah, probably it's all going to only get better. And oh, by the way, here's somebody in Monticelli again that has 3 years of eligibility remaining with Oklahoma. So I look at that and I say, that's a lot of time for Coach Gasso and Coach Rocha to work their magic and get the absolute best out of Paytn Monticelli. So the transfer portal taketh, the transfer portal giveth to Oklahoma. And now this staff for OU, you've got Nicole May back, who, again, because of how great Jordy Ball was throughout the postseason run, we shouldn't forget, and I don't think necessarily we do, but in some ways, yeah, you lose sight a little bit of Nicole May threw 107 and 2/3 innings last season, had a sub 1.0 ERA in her own right, which was third nationally, 0.91 ERA if you're wanting to count at home for the righty. 25 appearances, 19 starts, just 14 earned runs last season. And for Nicole May, maybe you look at it and you say, okay, there's some previous scar tissue from the Women's College World Series and giving up a couple of home runs to UCLA, but there's also the super regional experience, not even just from this past season with Oklahoma, but I'm going back like with UCLA to 2022, where Nicole May was terrific versus UCF, was really, really good in the regional versus Prairie View A&M and Texas A&M before that. And oh, by the way, was good in the championship finals in 2022 versus Texas when she tossed 4 1/3 innings pitched there. So you've got somebody in Nicole May that will be looked upon to be the ace of this staff for Oklahoma. You've got Paytn Monticelli, who in her own right has 13 starts under her belt. And oh, by the way, you've got Kirsten Deal, who came into Oklahoma as the number one player nationally, according to Extra Innings Softball. You've got S.J. Guerin, who we probably don't spend a ton of time talking about because we just haven't seen S.J. Guerin really yet. But there's somebody that was the number 10 recruit coming in out of Flow Softball, number 20 recruit by Extra Innings Softball, number 25 recruit by Softball America. So now you've got a championship staff if you're Oklahoma. And you might have already had that straight away with Nicole May and Kirsten Deal, but you've bolstered that staff with the addition of Paytn Monticelli. So as we expected, the rich in Oklahoma gets richer because as somebody exits, we told you right here on Locked On Sooners, your team every single day, that don't totally panic over Jordy Ball leaving. That's a transcendent talent. We know that about Jordy Ball. There's a reason she was the most outstanding player in this run to a third straight national championship for Oklahoma. But as one individual exits in true Bob Stoops fashion, and we'll say it like it's Patty Gasso saying it, no one person is greater than this Oklahoma softball program right now. Folks will want to be a part of it. And the first name out of the transfer portal that wants to be a part of it is Paytn Monticelli. So it's a massive pickup for Oklahoma. It makes what was going to be, in my mind, with Nicole May and an ascending talent in Kirsten Dill and S.J. Guerin, who maybe at times we forget about. It was already a really, really good staff. And now you went and you got another talented youngster, another righty in Paytn Monticelli that makes this, again, and if not already, now an elite staff for Oklahoma. And you've got more options in that staff if you're Oklahoma. So it's great news for the Sooners. I think OU was already the 2024 national championship favorites when you think about just the experience of what was coming back within this lineup for Oklahoma. When you think about May, when you think about Deal, but now if they weren't the national championship favorites again to go four-peat, well, absolutely, Oklahoma is that now with the addition of Paytn Monticelli, and we'll see. Could there be some more transfer portal news for Oklahoma softball? We certainly hope so. And that's going to do it for a little bonus episode of Locked On Sooners today. Wanted to react to, obviously, this breaking news of Paytn Monticelli committing to the Oklahoma Sooners. The transfer portal, it is Oklahoma softball's friend today. Until next time, I'm Josh Helmer for my partner, John Williams. Your team every single day right here, Locked On Sooners, every single day. Appreciate you everydayers swinging by. Got you covered all summer long into the fall football season. It's sneaking up on us, ladies and gents. Can't wait for that. But softball season, it feels like it's ages away too, but it'll be here before we know it. And all of a sudden, you've got another star to add to the equation in Paytn Monticelli. Until next time, everybody, Boomer Sooner.